Good, everybody. Welcome to Mind Prosperity. I'm so excited today. Mind Prosperity, we believe where your mind goes, your life follows. And today we're going to speak about the topic. Today we're going to speak about things that influence the topic. And today we have Gideon Basson with us. Gideon, welcome. It's so great to have you on our channel.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to hear what you're going to say and what you are going to share with us. Before we start, can you maybe tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what you do, what you are passionate about?
Thank you very much, Albert. I'm a coach, a mentor, a strategist, an entrepreneur, and I've had the incredible pleasure over the last 28 years to influence and directly as well as indirectly helped over 7,000 people to transform in some way or form. And it's been an incredible journey for me. So I absolutely love what I do. And I am passionate about helping people do something different. So, sometimes we get stuck in trying to repeat the same thing over and over again and expect different results. And it all comes down to just making a decision and really regaining your independent thinking. So that's what I do. In short, there's obviously lots that we can uncover and lots that we can talk about, but that's what I do and that's what I'm passionate about. Thank you.
That's awesome. No, thank you very much. And later in the session, we're going to share a little bit where you can contact Gideon, where you can hear more about his business. So soon in the interview, we're going to give that information to you. Before we get there, Gideon, when you and I spoke, we spoke about three keys or three important areas that influence your success in life. Can you quickly just mention those three areas, and then we're going to break them down a little bit?
Well, Albert, before we get to the three areas of life, I actually want your listeners to think about something today. And if they are listening to this or they're watching this video, I want them just to stand up for a while and just stand dead still, close your eyes. And then if you can't stand still and close your eyes and you're driving in your car, just imagine in your mind's eye, you are taking one step forward. And then while you've taken one step forward, I want you to take one step to your right. And then one step back. And then one step to your left. And then one step forward again. And I want you to keep on doing that for a while. And I want you to ask yourself the question, which one of those steps took more energy? Was it the one going forward? Was it the one going back? Was it the one going left or the one going right? Now, also, while you are taking these steps, you would realize that it is about finding the balance, because none of those steps actually took more energy to complete. But we often think there's something else that I need to look out for. There's something else that I need to look for, as opposed to just focusing on what you've got in front of you. So for me, it is about finding balance. There's not one golden ticket or one golden step that you're ever going to take that's going to help you to get to where you want to be. It's about finding that balance and becoming aware that everything in life has an impact on everything in life. One of my mentors in life taught me that everything is a percentage of everything. And when we had the opportunity to speak for the first time, I think I mentioned that we as humans and organizations or mothers or fathers or uncles or aunts or brothers and sisters, we all have a challenge somewhere in our life. And it's about finding that balance. And when we look at the three areas of our life, that's either health, wealth, or relationships. And if I say health, it's mental health, it's physical health. If I say wealth, I'm talking about how you earn a living. Maybe you're a student, maybe you're still studying, anything to do with how you earn an income or how you get to complete your life and what gives it purpose. And then your relationships, number one is obviously the relationship that you've got with yourself, and then the relationship that you've got with others. And using that analogy of you standing still and taking one step forward, one step back, one step left, one step right, it is about finding that balance. Because if you're not balanced in life, you can't take those steps. And sometimes we find that we go through life and one area of our life is out of whack. We might not be doing all the right things as far as our health is concerned, or our mental health is taking a beating. And then if our mental health is taking a beating, our physical health is definitely going to have an impact. And if your health is not taken care of, sooner or later, it will have an impact on your wealth. It will, no matter what you do, it will have an impact. And the same also with your relationships. So, if you imagine being someone that might be allergic to nuts, and you don't know it, you eat some nuts because you find it, you like the taste or whatever. And a few hours after you had the nuts, you feel sick, and you get back into bed, and you get weaker and weaker and weaker, and you go to the pharmacy and you maybe get some tablets to help you just to feel better, but you don't know it's the nuts. So while you're in bed, you're hungry and you grab another few hands of nuts, and you don't get better. You stay in bed, you're sick all the time. And a friend of yours actually comes to visit you, and they bring you a packet, and in the packet there's a little bit of nuts. So you stay in bed for a few days, your relationship is going to take a bit of a beating.
Mm.
And then maybe you go to work, and on your way out, you grab the nuts. You go to work, you feel a lot better, you're excited, you do your job, you do your work, and you feel hungry again, and you grab a few nuts again. And there the cycle repeats itself. We often do things that affects our life, but we don't realize it. And what if you knew it was the nuts that's driving you nuts? Right. So it is about finding that balance. And it's also very fortunate if you realize that one area of your life is out of whack or out of balance. Just by taking control of that one area of your life, it will also have a very positive impact on all the other areas of your life. And that's what I love about your name of your company and your program that you're running, Mind Prosperity, because the moment you have the prosperity in terms of your thoughts and your mind, it will have an impact on all the other areas.
Something very interesting that you said about the nuts analogy or the nuts example. I have this one course called Dealing with and Healing from Toxic Relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I always use this example. And I ask people, like, do you like chocolate cake? Most people say yes. And then say, okay, say for instance, I bake you a chocolate cake. And I say, all the ingredients are great. All the ingredients are perfect. I just put 1 teaspoon of poison into this cake. Just 1 teaspoon of poison into this entire cake. Will you still want to eat it?
Nope.
And most people say, obviously, no. Everybody said no so far, luckily. But and I think a lot of times we have to evaluate. I think when we don't have balance, and you can tell me what you think about this. If we don't have balance, if we over focusing, then we are slowly poisoning the one area. And if one area is a little bit poisoned, it's almost like as if we have to poison another area to overcompensate for it.
Yes.
And this is what I really like about this idea of balance. There's this guy called Colin Henderson, and he once said an amazing thing. He said, we don't have to wait to be sick until we decide to become better. And I think in the world where we live today, people wait until the relationship gets sick. I spoke to this couple once, and they have this, like, they have a very good marriage, a very healthy marriage, and they say, like, since before they got married, and at least once a month, they either go to marriage counseling or to a marriage conference or something, not because there's something wrong, but because they always want to grow. And I think it's the same with your finances. I think it's the same with your physical health. A person has to always build on each and every single one of them, and they shouldn't wait until there's a problem.
Yes.
I would love to hear your thoughts about this. How many people actually, not like amount, but is there a large amount of people or a large percentage of people that will a lot of times wait until there's a problem? And what will you encourage people to do, like, even before there's a problem?
Yeah, Albert, it's a very, very valid question that you ask, because the human is a very fascinating being. We only wait until it's last minute, until we absolutely have to do something before we make changes. And sometimes we get inspired. So I actually want to inspire everybody on this talk today to say, listen, don't wait, find that balance. Because, here's the thing. Imagine how well your life can be if you have balance in all areas of your life.
Brilliant.
So if one of those areas is out of balance at present, you are not living your fullest life. You're not living everything that you can. And you are actually robbing yourself of having a phenomenal life. So yes, you can wait. There's probably a reason why you wait. It's probably part of your paradigm. It's probably the way you grew up, maybe your personality, or maybe, impact moments that you had in your life that's preventing you from taking action. But I also want you to really reframe that and think to yourself, well, if this one area of my life is not in balance, it has an impact on all the other areas. Now, how can, if I fix this one area of my life, how can it impact all the other areas? And then you can actually have, instead of an 80% life, you can maybe have a 90% life, or maybe you've got a 50% life, you can have a 60 or a 70% life. Imagine that.
Yeah, I think something that's very important that you are saying right now is I think we are very quick to differentiate between the areas, or to think they don't influence each other. Think like my wealth is something separate, my health is something separate, and my relationship is something separate. But actually, it's so intertwined that I think a person can get to a place in their lives where they cannot even separate the three from each other. I think it's like I drink my coffee black, but for those people who drink milk and sugar with their coffee, when you make coffee and you put the milk and the sugar in, we know there's milk in, we know there's sugar in, we know there's coffee in, but there's no way we can separate them anymore.
Yes.
Because they are so well mixed together. And I think it's very much the same with what you are communicating today. I think especially as a person matures, you start to realize, but if I choose the wrong relationships, it's going to influence my health and my wealth.
Yes.
If I'm not healthy, it's going to influence my relationships and my wealth. If I'm not wealthy, and I think for many people, it's almost like wealth is a curse word, almost like if it's bad to be wealthy. Now, yes, there can be a toxic pursuit of wealth, definitely, but I want you maybe just to speak a little bit about it, because it's sometimes, I don't know if you've ever seen it, sometimes as if some people are sometimes ashamed of doing well in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very valid what you're saying there, Albert, because we grew up in a society where we don't want to show off, and it's almost like you are feeding the ego all the wrong things when you do happen to speak about wealth. And you know what, again, if you don't have the wealth that you want to accumulate, what exactly happened in your life that you think about the wealth in that way? So what I would do is I would actually say, right, okay, what if I were to win R1 million tonight in the lotto? Will I be a millionaire, or will I be a poor person with $1 million?
Can you quickly explain that? What does a poor person with $1 million mean?
Yes. A poor person with $1 million is someone that never learned the skills, they never did the personal development, they never really took the time to understand what it means to be wealthy. So wealthy is not about having $1 million in the bank. Wealth is about having the opportunity to have that constant pursuit of excellence, trying to improve yourself every single day. I've got a slogan in life, #DSD, do something different. If you don't succeed at first, do something different. And another philosophy of mine is there's no failure in life, there's only feedback. So let's take what happens to us every single day. Let's take the feedback and then let's reframe it as, all right, I didn't get the results I was hoping to get. I didn't fail. I just figured out a way that I shouldn't be doing it. Let me try something else. And it comes down to your wealth as well, because the moment you have a mindset of wealth, and I know wealth in inverted commas, people immediately think about that rand value that they've got in the bank. But if you think about wealth in terms of my mindset, my attitude on a daily basis, simple little things. I go to the grocery store and the person helping me to do the checkout, the cashier, I pay them a compliment and I put a smile on their face and they say, wow, thanks for that compliment. That is wealth. That is creating wealth on a daily basis. That is creating an environment where you allow yourself to feel good about everything that you do. So coming back to the statement, are you a millionaire or are you a poor person with $1 million? I see a lot of poor people with $1 million. I see a lot of poor people that doesn't have the money, and they also don't have the mindset of what it actually means to live a wealthy life. And wealth is really about a mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, like, your mindset will always take you, or your life will always go into the direction of your mindset. If you have a poverty mindset, I can give you 10 million rand. Eventually, you're going to be poor again. If you have a wealthy mindset, I can take all your money. Eventually, you're going to be wealthy again. That's just literally how mindset works. Now, you spoke earlier about sometimes we feel like if we're doing well in life, we're bragging or it's our ego. But I don't think, well, for some people it might be that, but a lot of times I just think jealous people calls it the ego. So I know we didn't plan this, but can we quickly speak about how jealousy affects a person's success?
Absolutely. Why not? This is what it's all about. It's about having a conversation. And I absolutely love doing this because you know better than most people that, the mind has got conscious and the subconscious mind. So I'm actually having a conversation now with you with my conscious mind. But having the opportunity to dive into deeper conversation with you allows my subconscious mind to also be, nourished. And you spoke about jealousy, right? So before we get to that, just for the sake of your audience, so that they understand where we're coming from, what you think about constantly will become a feeling inside of you. So whatever you think about, you feel about. Whatever you feel about, you do about, or you react about. And whatever you repeat over and over and over again, you're going to get. So the moment you are in a conversation or you hear about someone's success in life and you have an ounce, little bit of jealousy, or there's a reaction in your body, I want you to pay attention to that. It's the result of the feeling. And the feeling comes from the thinking. So what is the thinking that what is the thoughts that you've been thinking all this time that creates that feeling and that chemical reaction inside your body that if something like that comes up, there's an immediate reaction. So for me, it comes back to saying, right, if you are jealous about something, there is something that you need to go and unpack. There's something that you need to dive deeper into. What is the lack that you have in your own life? Where are you shorting something? Where do you need to find the balance? What is your paradigm program for? That maybe you have an understanding that wealthy people needs to do something illegal to be wealthy. Or maybe you have an understanding of if I'm wealthy or I have a lot of money in the bank, I'm going to be nasty to other people, and I don't want to be nasty to other people. So that's why I don't want to be wealthy. And that can somehow have an impact on our jealousy. And then it can also prevent us and keep us in our comfort zone to say, okay, listen, I'm not going to try anything different. I'm not going to try and improve. I'm not going to do personal development because why should I do it? Look at our society. Look at the people around us. They all got somewhere because they did something that wasn't legal. And I don't want to be classified as that. So you need to go and have a look at what is the programming that you're carrying around inside of you that gets you to have a belief system that you feel that way. And that causes you to react in a jealous way.
I want to say something about that. But before I get there, two things. Number one, I would just want to ask everybody that's here for the first time, please like, subscribe, and share this video. I believe it can help many, many people. And then also, I just want to quickly ask Gideon, if people want to contact you, if they want to do sessions with you, or if they want to know more about you, where can they go?
Albert, it's very, very easy. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram and all the normal platforms, but the easiest is probably just to go onto my website, gideonbasson.com, and then just send me a WhatsApp message or send me an email, and I'll definitely respond to that. No problem. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Now, and I think coaching is so important. And I think, let me just say this. I normally see when I do coaching or training with a group of people, I normally see it's the most successful people. It's the CEOs, it's the leaders, it's the person who started the company that will look and they will take notes and they will nod their heads and they will come afterwards and say, wow, that was brilliant. Can we do more sessions? And it's normally the people who struggle in life that sits there, they yawn, they bored, they type on their phone. And it just shows you what type of influence mindset has. So I want to expand on this a bit, where you say, we have to see where that paradigm comes from. Now,
Yes.
you spoke about the conscious and the subconscious. And the idea of the conscious is the one that makes the decision whether something goes in or something goes out. So if I say to you, wow, Gideon, you are stupid, your conscious mind hears it, and your conscious mind can decide, do I plant
Yes.
the seed of I'm stupid, or do I throw it out? Do I
Yes.
disbelieve it? Now, between the ages of 0 and 7, you don't have that conscious mind. So if I say to a 3rd-year-old, you are stupid, they're just going to believe it. They're
Yeah.
not going to stand there and say, listen, I'm consciously aware of the fact that I can unbelieve the seed that you've sown in my subconscious mind. They just believe it. So I think so many people grow up in an environment where parents or caretakers or aunts, uncles, teachers, whoever will look at rich people and say, yeah, they must be, they must be doing something illegal, or they're always nasty. Look at how unhappy they are. And from childhood, we connect wealth with, I'm a thief. People don't like me. I think people pleasing is a big thing, because
Yes.
people already have this idea that if I become wealthy, if I become successful, that people are not going to like me. Um, and the reality is, it's true. Here's the thing that we have to realize: it is true. If you become healthy, if you become wealthy, if you become happy, if you become joyful, if you marry the girl of your dreams, people are going to dislike you. People are going to be jealous. People are going to be envious, but the reality is the right people will love you. And this is the
Yes.
key. I was watching this interview that Jay Shetty had with this actress, and Jay Shetty said, I have this actor friend, and for every 100 people that asks him for his autograph and a photo, there will be one person that asks me for a photograph and a photo. And this actor said to me, Jay, you are so lucky. And he said, why? Is it because I'm more anonymous and not so many people bother me? He said, no, it's because every single person that asks me for my autograph asks me because of who I pretend to be. Every
Mm,
single person who asks you for who you really are. And then
mm,
Jay said, if you become who you really are, if you really fulfill your calling and your purpose on planet Earth, if you really reach what you want to reach, you might only attract one person, but that person will love you for
mm.
who you really are. So, before we get there, I know I'm like jumping ahead of myself. What type of impact do you think childhood trauma? And when I speak about childhood trauma, I'm not necessarily saying you were beaten or raped, although that is also childhood trauma, definitely. But childhood trauma in the sense of like you're not good enough, wealth is bad, money doesn't grow on trees. It does actually, but I'm not going to try to prove that now. But this whole mindset that is built up in childhood, what kind of effect do you believe that plays, number one, and how do you deal with it? How do you overcome it?
You know what, Albert, that's such a valid question, because there's an old saying that says we become the average of the 5 people that we hang out the most with.
Mm,
And I think, when we adults, we add all these fancy terminology and all these fancy riddles that we put together to sound very clever. The bottom line is, whatever input you have on a daily basis will impact your life. So because we are in our forming years from the age of 0 to 7, and then from 7 to 14, by the way, every 7 years, we all as humans, we go through a metamorphosis. And just quickly unpack that. So from 0 to 7, you are one person. From 7 to 14, you're another person. And you can go back in your life and you can actually go and track this from 14 to 21. There's all these major things that happens in your life, 21 to 28, then to 35, then to 42, then 49, and then to 56, and so on and so forth. So you can check that every single time there was a shift in your life, it was because of a 7-year cycle that was either finishing or another 7-year cycle that was starting. And I think in our lives today, we don't realize actually how important environment is. Or let's use another word for environment. Let's use the input we get on a daily basis. So the people we hang out with, the conversations we have, and then also that conversation you have with yourself, because that re-emphasizes the thoughts that you think, gets a feeling, the feeling becomes an action or a reaction, and the reaction or whatever you repeat, you're going to get, is going to become your results, your paradigm. So that feedback loop is so important, and it's so impactful the first 7 years of our life. I can clearly remember the things that still happened to me when I was between the ages of 0 and 7. And I remember them up until today because they made the biggest impact on my life. And that's where I had to put the most focus, was to unlearn, to relearn, to focus on the things that I wanted to focus on. So, Albert, if you have kids listening in today, if you have teachers listening today, if you've got parents listening today, be very careful what you say in an environment where there are young minds that you can impact. Every single thing you say, they absorb. Every single thing, every single feeling you feel, every reaction you have, every conversation you have, they mimic you because you are the caregiver. You are the person that's going to be there to support them through the process. And you've got to be extremely, extremely aware of the thoughts you have, the feelings you express, and then also the conversations you've got and how you make them feel at the end of the day. So yes, extremely, extremely important.
There's a lady called Cynthia Garrett that I listened to once years ago, and there's something she said I will never forget for the rest of my life. She said, if you want to change your life, you're going to have to change playgrounds and playmates.
Yes.
And I think so many times we want to change our lives, but we're just not willing to change environments, to change people, to do something different, like you always say. And I think hanging on to things that you just shouldn't hang on to anymore can also just be such a difficult thing. So let us quickly speak about what I just, referred to in the idea of people pleasing and becoming the true you. And when I say becoming the true you, I'm not saying, become weird and nasty and treat people bad and just say that's who I am. That's not who you are at your core. But you are unique. You have your unique skills and talents and personality. So how does people pleasing and the true you play a part in your health, wealth, and relationships?
Albert, for me, it's very simple. There are four areas or four things that you need to do. The first one is you need to understand yourself. And I think, we can unpack that more, but understanding yourself is extremely important. Once you understand yourself, now let me backtrack. When you understand yourself, you realize that there's not something wrong with you.
Good.
So we as humans, we think there's something wrong with us. So let's go back to the question you asked about wealth. So if people are wealthy, then it means they did something illegal or wrong or whatever. What about if you look at wealth and say, wealthy people do what others won't? Or successful people in life do things that other people won't. They find other things to do as opposed to doing the personal development, about finding the balance, about re-educating themselves, about using these impact moments that they've got in their life, not to keep them back, but to actually move them forward so that they can learn from that.
I just want to say something on that quickly, and I want to hear what you
Yes.
think about this. I heard this guy once said, he said to me, do you know why they never advertise Ferraris and Porsches and Lamborghinis and Aston Martins on television? I'm like, no. He said, because people who can afford it don't watch a lot of television.
Exactly. That is absolutely spot on. So think about this. Successful
Mm,
people does what unsuccessful people won't. Okay.
mm,
Healthy people does what unhealthy people won't do.
yeah.
All right. And there's so many areas of your life where you can actually go and have a look at that and unpack that and
Mm,
be more hands-on with that. So what can I do? What do successful people do in this area? What do they do in that area? Let me not make the same mistakes they made, because that will make my learning curve so much better. And if you have that mindset in place, it's okay, listen, there's no failure, there's only feedback. I'm getting
mm,
some feedback about what I should be doing opposed to what I should not be doing. My life can be so much more fulfilled.
mm.
So you're going to have to remind me again of your question, because I went off in a different direction. So can you can you just remind me again what your question was, please?
Just before I remind you of your question, you know what I just thought about when you said that? Remember that the conversation we had about what we're actually going to talk about?
Yes,
We haven't talked about that at all, but that's good. I think what we are talking about is actually good. So just like we had a totally different topic in mind, but anyway, I think this is amazing. So my question was about people pleasing and becoming your
people
true
pleasing,
self.
people pleasing to yourself. So the first thing is to understand yourself. Now,
Mm,
when you understand yourself, it means that you know there's not something wrong with you.
mm,
Which brings me to the second part, which is about accepting yourself. So once you understand yourself, you can accept yourself. And I think there is so much value
mm,
and so much liberation that takes
mm,
place the moment you accept yourself, to say, listen, this is who I am. you know, this is the true me. If I want to swear in a conversation, I'm going to swear. If I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. I'm going
mm,
to put boundaries up. I'm going to do the things that I want to do. I think that is extremely liberating. And then the third part is, now I've had the opportunity to be involved in some incredible programs over the years, and I've just recently launched a brain instrument that I actually help people to understand themselves so that they can actually
nice.
accept themselves, and then at the same time to say, right, now let me see where I need to find that balance. So if you're someone that goes through life, but you've got a blue lens on, so your everything in your life is blue. So everything you look at is blue. If you take the lens off, you can see in perfect colors. But if you put the blue lens on, everything is blue. And maybe you bump into someone that's got a red lens on. Now, if you both look at the same picture, the one is going to see it in blue and the other one is going to see it in red.
Mm,
And you're going to be arguing all day long about what you're seeing, because it
wow.
is the lens that you look through. In other words, if your understanding of the world is blue and my understanding of the world is red
Yeah.
or green or yellow or pink, and I don't accept that. I say, like, listen, my view is the blue,
Mm,
but I see your side is the red. How can I develop myself to also take
mm,
my blue glasses off and
mm,
put the red on? So when I communicate with you, I'm communicating from your perspective,
mm,
because then it allows me the opportunity not to change myself, because there's not something wrong with me. That's just my preference.
mm.
Now I say, right, let me now develop myself so that I can communicate with you. And the moment I do that, our relationship is going to be stronger, because I understand that you have a different perspective. And then the last part is
Wait.
now,
Before you get there, is that okay? I
yes,
just want to mention two things, and then because I think this is very important. Do you know who Bob Proctor is?
yes, I do.
No. So Bob Proctor once said something that was very good. He said, we don't see with our eyes, we see through our eyes,
Yes,
but we ultimately see with our perception."
yes.
And I think that's exactly what you are saying, is like people see with their perception.
Hmm.
And there's a I don't think I've ever told you this, but I have one of the courses that I've written for companies is the law of relativity.
Okay.
It's called no. The material, the course is called the 12 Universal Laws of Success. And
Hmm.
I get this idea that universal laws works for everybody, no matter
Yes.
whether you're male or female, black or white, what your religious background or your ethical background or your culture is. One example I use is the law of gravity. No matter who you are, if you stand on a building and jump off, gravity is going to work for you. So now I have these 12 laws that I say will propel you into success if you understand the laws. And the one law is called the law of relativity. And the law of relativity always asks the question, relative to what? So if you say, do you have a big room? And you ask the question, well, relevant to what? Relevant to my relevant to a 20-seater yards big, relevant to a 5,000-seater each small. So and I think that's exactly what it is. It's like, if we understand this law of relativity, then we understand, like, if I say, for instance, I have a big business, but I speak to Elon Musk, big is gonna mean something different to him than when I speak to somebody who sells hot dogs at the corner of the street. So I just wanted to bring in this idea of relativity so that, we can understand that. So you can say something on that, or you can go to your next point.
Yeah, 100%. So you're quite right, because yes, where I see, if we now talk about the relationship that you've got with yourself and the relationship that you've got with others, the moment you understand yourself and you can understand and say, right, you know what, my preference is to be in this frame of mind. And if I understand my partner, their preference is to be in that frame of mind, or I understand my organization. Let's say, for instance, there's 5 or 10 people that work in your business, or there's 50 people who work in your office. Each one of them is going to have a different perception. They're going to have a different frame. They're going to have a different preference. And if we as individuals accept that that is our preference, I accept that is your preference, now that I've accepted myself and I've accepted you, how can I now develop myself to make our relationship stronger, or for me to communicate in such a way that we can have a better bottom line, so we can have more productivity, we can have better conversations within our organization, we can have more success. So what you just said now is so important, using, Doc Proctor's example about and the relativity, because where are you right now and where do you want to be? So here's something else that I want to just throw in there before
before you say that, I know I interrupt you a lot. But just hold that thought, because you said something that's probably one of the most important things I've ever heard in my life. And I just want to emphasize that. I'm going to tell you why. You said, where do I have to develop to make the relationship better? You know how very, very few people think like that. Everybody thinks if that person changes, the relationship will be better. But what you just said is, ask the question, where should I develop to? And just imagine how many marriages will be saved if people ask that question. How many businesses will be saved if people ask the questions, where do I have to improve for this relationship to work? I love that.
So on that note, and since you brought up that point, let me just share something else with you that is I'm so passionate about, is about creating independent thought.
That's good.
So I've had the opportunity to work with many thousands of people over the years, and what is absolutely fascinating is that sometimes we are in a conversation and I can hear it's not them speaking. It's like they are reusing words that they got told when they were 7 years old or 10 years old, or maybe it's the company director that imprinted a thought process or a language pattern on them. And now they've just adopted that because they don't have their own independent thoughts.
Sure.
They have been completely brainwashed by their circumstances, or they've been pushed in a direction based on their environment, or because of what is happening to them in their lives. And if we can just somehow get people to take personal responsibility for their thoughts, say, right, I am not going to let anything get into my mind, it cannot influence me. It's virtually impossible. But if you can put an awareness out there to say, right, I'm going to pick the information that I'm going to absorb and that I'm going to consume, it has a direct impact about what you just said now. You make that decision about what thought you're going to allow to come into your conscious mind, because the more you're going to think about that, the more that neurons in the mind is going to start firing and wiring together, and it's going to create a superhighway. And often we then in a conversation and someone says something and we react, and 2 days later we think, yes, like, why did I react that way? It was that neural pathway that we created and that thoughts that we are thinking all the time that causes us to react a certain way. So development is key. What do you develop? You develop your thoughts, independent thoughts, and you develop your responsibility. And
sorry, can I just say something on that as well?
Go for it. Go for it.
So the reason I'm doing this is you say something that really triggers something in me. I have this very good friend and mentor. He lives in Cape Town. I'm in Bloemfontein. His name is Hendrik Foster. He's about 59 years old now. And he told me at the age of 54, he started with his whole, mental programming.
Okay.
And he's also the person that a lot of times I'll phone him for advice. So I will never forget this conversation. I phoned him. I said to him, "Can I do a video call with you?" And I said to him, "I want you to think about, I want to ask, what are your thoughts about this, and what do you think I should do?" And he just literally went like, "What do you think?" Exactly. I'm like, "No, I want to hear your thoughts, and I want to hear your advice." He's like, "No, but I want to hear what you think." And I'm like, "What do you mean what I think?" And he said to me, when you get born, your parents decide what name they're going to give you. They decide what school they're going to send you to. That school decide what they're going to teach you. They decide what church or religion they're going to put you in. That church or religion will decide what they're going to teach you. Your parents will decide what they're going to teach you. And then at the age of 7, you are programmed. Have you ever sat down, just taken a step back and asked yourself the question, but what do I actually believe? Not saying that everything they taught you is bad. A lot of it is good. Yes. But have you ever stopped and asked yourself, and that really changed my life when he said to me, "What do you think?" And have you ever asked the question, what do you actually believe?
Sure. That is a profound question, and you can ask that question to yourself every morning, What did I learn from yesterday? So I've got a thing that I do with my clients and the people that I work with. I call it a gratitude and a glory journal.
Wow.
So and I know that most of your audience is now going to say, you know what, we've heard about gratitude. No. Hang on a second. Just hear me out. So gratitude is about paying attention to everything that you've got around you right now. Okay. So here's the thing. When you are stressed out, or you're feeling anxious, or you feeling depressed, catch that thought. And think about that thought for a second. Is that thought a thought that comes from the past, from yesterday? Or is it a thought that is in the future? So we can't go back and, play the lotto and win the lotto from last week, Wednesday, because that time is gone. We can also not go ahead in the future and go and see what the lotto numbers is going to be in the future. The only thing we've got is the here and the now. So if you have a journal, in the front, you take one page and you write down 3 things that you are grateful for the here and the now. It immediately puts you not in the things that happened last week, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It puts you in the now. And tonight, before you go to bed, in the back of the journal, you write down 3 things that you accomplished for the day, or that you realized, or that you really, really made a difference in. So in other words, what was the glory? What is the thing that you realized today? What is the wins that you had today? And then write down one thing that you're going to do better the next day.
Wow, that's good.
All right. So this is about taking your mind, not from the past, not from the future, but be in the here and the now. And what your mentor did there by saying, but what are you thinking? Now, what is he doing? He says, okay, listen, let's not think about our conscious, subconscious. Let's just think about who you are in that specific situation. So to add on to that, for the longest time, I had this mindset that the way I grew up, you know what, the reason I am the way I am was because my dad did this and this and this and this. And because this and this happened to me was because of X, Y, Z. And you know what I realized, Albert? My dad passed away about 11 years ago. And I realized the other day that I was using all those things that I was saying as excuses,
Mm.
not to take personal responsibility for my own thoughts.
Wow. Yo, that's good. Yo.
So we need to really take a long, hard look at ourselves. So I do a 21-day challenge where I take someone to really go deep and to go and do the mirror work and to unpack everything about their life, to really go and say, okay, listen, who the heck am I? Let's have a conversation. Let me understand myself. Let me accept myself, who I am. Let me develop the areas where can I take responsibility for this? And then the last part is now that I'm growing and I'm seeing the change that I can make, what am I going to do with it? How am I going to make sure that that's not a once off, not a 1 day or a 1 week or a 1 month or a 1 year transformation, but it's something that takes place for the rest of my life. So what is it that I want to be known for? Not to be impressed by, to impress myself on other people, but what is it that I want to leave behind for myself? And so I always say to my circle, I say, if someone needs to write a book right now, what will be the heading of your book?
Mm.
Or if this is the final chapter, what will it say? All right. Or questions like that. And I often ask myself that question, this phase of my life right now, if someone had to write a book right now, what would be the heading? What would be the first line? What would be the message that my book will bring? And then I have those conversations, an opportunity to take even more responsibility for the way I live. Because now that I have time to reflect on my own thoughts and say, okay, well, yes, what would they say? What would they write? Okay, now let me take more responsibility to make sure that that message that I want to leave behind is definitely there.
Wow, that's really, really good. And I think one of the things that I hear a lot in this conversation that we have today is, and I think for some people it won't be a very nice word or phrase, but something I keep hearing is you have to take responsibility.
Mm,
And this is the thing. You can have a good life, you can be wealthy, you can have good relationships, you can be healthy, but you do need to take responsibility. You have to stop blaming. You have to. I remember I was sitting with a guy once, and I don't know if I told you this before, maybe in a previous meeting, but he was complaining about things here, and he told me he's moving to Australia and everything. And I said to him, "Okay, that's fine. There's just one problem. If you go to Australia," he said, "What's that?" I said, "You're going with."
mm,
And he looked at me with this crazy expression. I said, "Well, everything that you've created here, you will create there.
yes.
It's just a reality, a new car doesn't make a new life, a new
Mm,
house doesn't make a
mm,
new marriage. Your life will not change with the renewal of the clock or the renewal of a town or renewal of the country. Your life will only change with the renewal of the mind, and that is your
yes.
responsibility."
Yes. Sure.
Yeah.
That's so valid what you just said there. So I wanna share a quote of you
Mm,
from one of my mentors, Jim Rohn.
mm.
And he always said, don't wish things were easier, wish you were better.
Wow. Yeah.
So we often go through life and we look at all the suffering, we look at all the things that
Mm,
we don't
mm.
have. But here's something that I want to ask you. If you were given an opportunity today to be a CEO of a big corporation,
Okay.
will you be able to deliver and help the corporation perform, or will you drag it down? In other words, are you the kind of person that you need to be in order to be a CEO of a big corporation?
Mm,
So we often say, okay, well, I wish I was a CEO of a big corporation, because they think, well, I can just sit back and collect lots of money and be in important meetings and drink coffee with people and that sort of thing. But what we don't realize is that if you don't become the person
mm,
that you need to be the CEO of that big corporation, chances are pretty good
mm,
you're never going to get there, because
yeah.
you don't get what you wish for, you get what you
Mm,
become.
Yeah.
And it is about that responsibility. So take responsibility for everything. If you
Mm.
want better health, take responsibility for your health. If you want better relationships, take responsibility for that. If you want
Yeah.
better conversations with yourself and you want to feel better about yourself, then choose the people you have conversations with. Choose the
Mm.
people that doesn't have frivolous conversations about how you're doing, no, okay, how you, but have deep, meaningful conversations that gives you the opportunity to voice
Mm.
your opinions, because it's in the moment that you voice that opinion that you can actually hear yourself,
Mm.
and you can then reevaluate and say, right, yes, this is my message, this is what I stand for, this is who I am.
Mm.
Give you an opportunity for that feedback loop to present itself. So responsibility, independent
Mm.
thoughts, understanding yourself, accepting yourself, developing
Mm.
and growing. I think, you know what,
Mm.
if I can use this analogy once again, I love analogies. Grant Cardone once said, if you're not growing, you are dying. Yes. And it was like, yo,
Yeah.
okay. And then later on, one day I was in an area and there was lots of houses, and there was not a lot of, there was a lot of water around the houses, but there was very little movement in the water.
Mm.
And oh, but I cannot tell you the stink, the smell that I got from the water.
Mm.
Because if water is not flowing, it will rot,
Wow. 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 Wow.
right?
Yeah.
And there was this development that was done, and they built all these incredible houses and spent
Mm.
millions and millions to develop this, but they didn't take into consideration that the water needs to flow.
Mm.
And because of that lack of flow and lack of movement, the water started to rot. Now, if you as a human are not moving, if you are not growing, you are dying. If you're not
Mm.
moving, you are rotting.
Mm.
So take it off as a flower. You know, a flower grows, 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 and then it becomes beautiful, and then it dies.
Mm.
And if we're not continuously growing, we stop growing, then we die.
Mm. Yeah.
So it's about that responsibility, and it's about finding the balance in
Mm.
life to
Uh,
continue.
I want to say this one final thing that I want to hear your final thoughts. But I read this book once from Chad Veach. Chad Veach wrote this book called Help, I Work with People. And I was like, the title was like so catchy. And interestingly enough, John Maxwell wrote the foreword for the book.
Okay.
And one thing that Chad Veach and John Maxwell spoke about in the beginning of the book was this whole idea of the true definition of leadership. And they
Okay.
spoke about the true definition of leadership is influence. I'm speaking about the whole idea of becoming a CEO of a
Mm-hmm.
business, because that's what you were speaking about. And they said the main ingredient, that's the word they use, the main ingredient of leadership is influence. And then
Okay.
and then Chad, he broke up this book in three different parts.
Okay.
And the first part is called the most difficult person to influence. And he was speaking about yourself.
Yes.
The second part was influence in a relationship, meaning between you and one person, and the third part was influencing a group.
Mm.
But the first few chapters of the book was this whole idea of knowing how to influence yourself.
Self.
And here's the thing, you asked the question of, can you become the CEO of a business and make it a success? Meaning, do you have what it takes to influence these people to
Mm.
make this business a success? But you can never influence anybody if you cannot first influence yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think so many people will say, yes, I want the CEO position. I want the promotion. I want the title. I want this. I want this. I want this. But you cannot influence yourself yet.
Yes.
How are you
Absolutely.
going to influence everybody else? Gideon, thank you. What are your last thoughts on what do you want to give to the people? What are the key takeaways that you would like to share today?
You know what, Albert? The thing that I want to leave with everyone is, for things to change,
Mhm.
you need to change.
Brilliant.
And for things to get better, you need to get better.
Mhm.
Nothing in your life is going to change. Nothing is going to get better unless you get better, unless
Sure.
you decide that's what I
Mm.
want to do.
Mhm.
That's what I want to leave everybody with.
Mm.
It's been an absolute pleasure to hang out with you. I hope we can do this again in the near
Yeah,
future.
let's do it again on the actual topic we wanted to speak about. We
Fantastic. Yes, 100%. Let's do it. And
Yeah.
thanks for this forum, and thank you very much for everybody that tuned in today to listen to this. It's absolutely magic. And may you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and may you keep on making the difference that you are making. Albert, thank you very much for everything that you do.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gideon. Really appreciate you. Really appreciate your work. I also want to thank you for making the world a better place. I really appreciate you, and I'm so glad we met.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Okay, then take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.